Do opposites really attract? I mean, I know it's something that most people have heard at one time or another, but is it true? People say opposites attract, but obviously that's not for everything. So many people, they say they want to date or marry somebody that is the same religion or has the same political views, or, I just can't date somebody that eats meat, whatever ideology or belief system that they have. They want somebody that shares that same common interest and shares that belief. So if opposites attract, on what level? Is it something that was given to us by evolution and was put into our biology back in the days of hunter gatherers and cave people or whatever? You had to have somebody that could grow crops, and you had to have somebody that could weave baskets and look for fruit. You had to have somebody that could go and hunt the deer or the elk and make sure that they had some meat for the night. I don't know. This is kind of seeming like I'm talking about a male female type of thing. And that's only because, that's because that's something that's as old as time. The men would go out and hunt, and the women would make sure that everything was taken care of on the home front. I'm not some sort of historian, so I don't know the details. But again, I think most people they they know that as far as our ancestral heritage, that was the divide we had. But opposites attracting can't mean male and female, obviously, because you have females that are attracted to females, males that are attracted to males, and that's something that some people don't draw a line as far as opposites attract. Not necessarily talking about gender. As far as I go, I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about whatever it is. Some people would think it is crazy to consider religion or political views as something you have to have some sort of commonality with your significant other in order to date them. Some people would look at that as crazy. Others would say, you don't know my mom, or this is just my belief, or actually, I have very strong reason to have the beliefs that I have. And if somebody were to counter those as far as they truly didn't agree with that, it would cause too much arguments, too many arguments between us, and it wouldn't even be worth it. It wouldn't even be anywhere close to a healthy relationship. So why bother? People draw the lines in different places when it comes to this whole opposites attract thing because I mean, in a way you do want a partner that is strong in areas that you are weak, right? Let's say you aren't very patient, having a partner that is, maybe you have a little bit of their patience rub off on you and you become more patient. Hopefully, they don't become more impatient as a result, but you get what I'm saying. You can have these different things, different qualities that you may want to seek somebody that has the opposite as you, the opposite strengths, the opposite weaknesses. That way you can have each other's backs. That way you can pick each other up where you both fall short. It makes sense, right? Again, where do you draw the line? Maybe it's because it's not as simple as it was back in the day where, it was, are you a hunter or are you a gatherer? Can you, which one are you gonna do? It's not as simple as that anymore. Now, I mean, roles can be taken on by any gender, obviously, but by anybody. It doesn't really matter. What are you good at? What do you do? What do you naturally already excel at? And is this one of those things that's only strength and weakness? Again, is this evolution playing its part, saying you have to look for somebody that is your counterpart and that, again, the holes that you have, so to speak, they're able to feel them. And then when you procreate and have offspring, now they have hopefully the best attributes from both of you. And yes, that's biology. That's what we are instinctually driven to do. Is to meet somebody, fuck, and have a kid. And then want to live long enough to where, keep them alive long enough and for you to live long enough for them to have kids. And there it goes. Your genes have been passed on. That is definitely a gift and a curse, I guess, for some people that has been given to us by evolution and has been put into our biology. We're driven to want to do that. It makes sense. But other than hoping to give your offspring the best attributes, surely there has to be other reasons why opposites would be attracting each other. Because I'm trying to think of obviously my own personal experience and personality and honestly interest in general. They play a part. Don't we commonly look for somebody that has things in common with us? If you were somebody, let's say you're a comedian and you tell a lot of jokes and you're never really being serious and not in a bad way, but you're just lighthearted. That's how you have embraced the world, whether it's a good moment, a bad moment, whatever. If you are with somebody that takes things very seriously and gets very offended every single time somebody brings up a joke in a wrong moment, and how could you say that? And you're the clutch my pearls, gasp, and put my hand to my mouth like, how could you? How could you do this? How could you say this? Probably won't last very long with a comedian that is constantly crossing that line. Where do you draw the line? Maybe it's one of those things that honestly nobody's the same, right? Nobody's exactly the same. Everybody is the opposite of one another in some form or fashion. Even if you break it down to the most, biological form, like I'm male, you're female, or you know what I mean. I'm a brunette and you're a blonde. I don't know, something like you could find something where you're the opposite, something. And a lot of times it is ideologies, it is beliefs, it is different personality traits. So because we all have our differences, maybe that's just one of those sayings that it's like an old wives' tale. Like people just say it. They've always said it because, well, since the history of mankind, no matter who you chose as a spouse, there was something that was the opposite of you. Something that I just wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't say that. Why do you feel this way? Why do you think that? Why don't you just do this? Why would you just throw your dirty clothes on the floor? Why don't you do the dishes every single day? Why are you not doing the laundry? Why aren't you doing things the way that I would do it? Why don't you see the things that I see the way that I see them? Why do you see them the way that you do? There's always going to be these little moments, these little tiffs and fights between couples where you just you have an opposite perspective, you have an opposite belief, and honestly, you just choose, even if you are aware of the the change or the differences or whatever, you choose to live your life in an opposite fashion. These things happen. So maybe it's just an old wives' tale that, we say opposites attract. And it's because no matter who you attracted to, you're going to be opposite to them in some sort of way. Maybe that's why opposites attract. Because choosing where you draw the line, I mean, that can hinder you looking for somebody where I guess you go too far. You gotta check all the boxes. You know, maybe you shrink your dating pool so small that your chances of finding somebody that you truly want to be with, it's it's such bad chances that you're fucking yourself up by being too picky. Maybe you have too many boxes, but maybe you don't really have any boxes. Am I attracted to them? Are they cool? Is the vibes right? And I think, sadly, historically, in my life, I've leaned towards the latter more than the person that has all these different boxes. And I probably should have been a lot more selective when I was growing up. Just in general, I should have been a lot more choosy. I should have had a lot more boxes. Because the thing is, saying that opposites attract, that could be something that you kind of just throw out there when you get those first warning signs in somebody. When you get those first, it's kind of weird that they do that. The first little ick that you get, the first little maybe that's why that saying is there. Nobody would get around to actually being with somebody long term if, as soon as they got a little bit of a ick, a little bit of a side eye to the person that they're trying to be with, because they do something that they wouldn't do. I mean, like I said, nobody would even get to the long term part of a relationship. Is that evolution again? Is that biology telling us to just get over it? To just accept that nobody is going to be exactly like you? Just have you heard of fingerprints, tongue prints? Have you come to realize how unique you are? Nobody is actually nobody's going to have your experiences. Don't know if that's a shocker to you, man. It's nobody's going to have those experiences that you've had growing up. Nobody's going to have the perspectives that you've grown to form. This is something that's unique to you, just like your fingerprint. Well, damn. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool though? Isn't that what a soulmate is? Damn. What are you telling me? You're telling me I'm destined to never be fully understood, never fully understand. That's that's crazy. Are you sure? I just have to say opposites attract. Opposites attract. That's just what it is, right? We're all opposites. But don't they say with soulmates, that's like your other half, and you would expect your other half to be pretty much like you, right? I mean, unless we're talking about one of those old cars where you have a door with different color than the damn regular paint job on the car. You know what I'm talking about? Where you just put all the different parts together. I didn't think we were rigging anything together. I thought this was my other half. Hmm. Do opposites attract? Is that what this is? Yin and yang? Is that what this is? Who knows, right? Because we all deal with that. We all, like I said, have the opposites in other people. And you can you can say, well, I won't, let's say for example, I won't have a relationship with anybody that doesn't have a relationship with God. Won't do it. That's where I draw the line. Okay. But then what if you are the complete opposites of each other in other ways? Do opposites attract? Yo, that's actually funny as hell. So NASA asked the first woman who went to space if she would need 100 tampons for a 6-day mission. And that's why this episode of Get Xuded is brought to you by Carry On by Xuded. Now streaming everywhere you listen to music. 100 tampons.
I'll carry on lonely, yeah. So I'ma
could be a bitch, but we bonded. I know she just here to keep me honest, testing me with hardships, seeing if I crack under the pressure. I stand by every L, they don't stand for lack of effort. Close my eyes and I see M's, and my kids don't want for nothing. I've been dreaming of the day when I ain't stressing over money, but until that time comes, I ain't never slowing down. Heavy is the head with the crown, the shit that keep me up at night, every day is wearing me down. But heavy is the head with the crown, the story of my life, I guess. Like I said, you got that person that is, damn, I wanted somebody that was just like me. Not exactly, obviously. Don't look like me. That'd be kind of weird. Just wanted somebody that was similar to me. Where it's like, I've known you my whole life. All the cliches you see in movies. You got those people that they truly want that. They truly are looking for that. Is it? Are you telling me it's impossible? They can never have that? Well, damn. That's sad. Is it? Is it sad? Do you want somebody that is exactly like you? It kind of it makes me think of this Family Guy episode I watched where Brian the dog wanted to do some sort of autobiography. I don't even remember why. I think like he was feeling old, thought he was gonna die, some shit like that. He wanted to do an autobiography, a memoir, so that he can be remembered after he's gone, of course. And you know he's pretty cool with the baby Stewie, and he asked Stewie to help him with his autobiography. You know, that's what I want to do. And Stewie ended up making a robot that looked exactly like Brian the dog. And it was a self-learning and self-improving robot that the more you spend time with it, the more it would be able to act like Brian and talk like Brian and basically be an exact replica of Brian. Why write an autobiography when you can just have you? Just, you know, after you die, here you go. It's basically you, and it worked. It worked. You know, Stewie the baby, if you haven't seen Family Guy, Stewie the baby is a fucking genius, and it worked. Well, after some time, he would spend time with Brian the dog, and it did get weird. He ended up fucking his robot self, and he fell in love with his robot self. And yeah, I guess that's a whole, it puts a whole new meaning to go fuck yourself. But after some time, real Brian started to get annoyed by Brian the dog. And I think from what I can remember, it all started when they were watching a show or something like that. And Brian the robot started doing this annoying laugh. And he was like, will you stop doing that? You're always doing that laugh. So, well, I learned it from you. Everything I do, I got from you. So, there's no way I do that. And then something happened that was funny in the show again. And then they both did the annoying laugh at the same time. And real Brian is, oh my God. And then Brian the robot starts taking a sip of some drink. And every time he takes a sip, he goes, every single time, and it starts getting on real Brian's nerves. And he's like, okay, what, can you stop doing that? He's like, that's the same thing you do. And he's like, no, I don't. And then he goes to take a sip, and then he realizes that he had to stop himself from doing the same exact thing that just annoyed him. And I know it just seems like I just went down a random tangent, but it all loops, I promise. So I'm gonna bring us back. Real Brian the dog, realized that he hated Brian the robot. Brian the robot was him, and he realized that he hated himself. And then as soon as he said he hated himself, spoiler, if I guess you wanted to watch this episode and you haven't, well, it's old. And yeah, as soon as he said, I hate you, and then he said, I hate me, it was like mission complete or whatever, and the robot shut off. And Stewie comes in and he's just clapping. He's like, yeah. You said you wanted an autobiography, but I'm just here to tell you, you know what I mean? Don't even don't bother to write it because you can't even you hate yourself. You think anybody's gonna wanna hear from you. So basically just he taught him a lesson in a very funny fucking way. Maybe opposites attract because even though even though bear with me, even though things that people do the opposite of what you'd want, even though it's annoying, maybe it's just a part of being with somebody in our brains and our weird little evolved monkey brains. Maybe that's what it is. And if you had somebody that was exactly like you, agreed with everything you said, maybe there would be like no fun in it. Maybe it would be pointless. Maybe you would hate yourself. And even if you didn't hate yourself, maybe you would hate the similarities because I mean, what else? What else? You're basically just thinking out loud to yourself. You have some sycophantic relationship with this robot or this person that is hypothetically exactly like you don't get any pushback. You guys have the same exact ideas. How do you polish them? And maybe that's okay with you. But a lot of people, I mean, that was the complaint with ChatGPT when it first came out, right? It agreed with you too much. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought people wouldn't like it if your little large language model, your AI companion, who'd have thought that we wouldn't like it as people? Maybe there's some people again that do like it. Who'd have thought we wouldn't like it if it just agreed with everything that we said? That just acted like every single idea was just, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. This will work perfectly. The To put it crudely, who'd have thought that people wouldn't like the biggest dick riders ever for you? The one that would constantly suck your ass about everything you said. Who'd have thought? But we quickly let people know. We quickly complain. And I'm doing the whole royal we thing. We as people. I didn't put any complaint in or put a post out there about how bad ChatGPT would agree with everything that you say, but I noticed it. And people do complain, people do talk, and it did get out there. And they quickly tried to reel it back. And I honestly feel like it takes some work. I'd be like, no, push back on everything. You won't hurt my feelings. I'll be trying to get my motherfucker to basically debate me. Tell me where I'm wrong. Where are my holes? And again, I could see how it might be alluring to some people to have somebody that you don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to worry about where you get things wrong. You always feel right. I just think, on average, the common person won't want to have a relationship like that. No matter what we try and say. No matter no matter how upset we get at the people that we choose to be with romantically and their opposite behaviors. Like I said, it's usually such trivial things, right? You know, you got the person that is a neat freak, or not even a neat freak, just like, can we have some shit clean? Can it be clean? It's not like it doesn't have to be perfect, but can we look at this as a whole and be like, damn, this place is clean. If I had to choose clean, dirty, it's clean. And then the other person that's just like, it's okay. Eat some food. Just leave out the bowl. You know what I mean? Get some fucking dirty clothes off you and just throw them randomly. We'll get to it later. Dishes, they're gonna pile up. Laundry, what laundry? Who cares? Like, just put it on the floor. I'll grab it later if I want to pick it up. If we get too, if we get too dramatic with the differences again, it becomes less and less likely that the two actually are going to be together unless one changes, because that could happen, right? You're going to change them. They'll be more clean if you just keep being the clean one, right? You keep cleaning. You show them how it could be. Look at this. Look how I cleaned all this shit. Doesn't it feel good? Uh huh. Next day, just throws the fucking clothes right back. And yeah, you got the cliches where it's always the guy that's the dirty one, right? The woman that is very clean and pristine, all of that good stuff. That's not always fucking true. That's not always true. And what's worse is you can get people that they don't draw the line there anyways. In fact, I do draw the line there. I draw the line where if you are not like my dirty lifestyle, I can't be with you. I used to I used to do door to door sales. Not have to go into people's houses, bro. The condition, the fucking condition that people would live in as a collective. You could tell it's like a family thing. Some people draw the line. And this is not to offend any dirty dwelling individuals. But good lord, to each his own. What if that's where they drew the line? Like, obviously, I'm not gonna name names because that's mean. But I'm thinking of this kid that I went to school with, and he was like always made fun of because he smelled like shit, bro. Like like you smelled him if he was 2 rows down, like from where his your desk was. You still smelled that motherfucker. He smelled like shit. He had to be from a family that just didn't draw that line. I imagine. Again, I don't. I would imagine though. It has to be everybody in that motherfucking house that smells. Cause ain't no way my boy gonna be smelling like that. Not even for you, nigga. For me, go wash your stank ass, bro. What? I'm not smelling that shit. The fuck? Not smelling that shit. But if we all smell like shit, come on in. Go out into the world. People might say something, but fuck them. But that guy, I gotta think. Hopefully, he is happily with somebody. He's found the love of his life and all that. But I'd have to imagine that bitch stank. There ain't no way a good smelling motherfucking woman, I don't know his sexuality, whatever. Ain't no way. Again, you could change people, right? Maybe if you're going into a relationship though, trying to change them, it's kind of already on rocky red flag roads. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should just get with somebody that you like them for who they are. Again, I don't see this motherfucker drawing the line where, well, now I'm gonna start bathing. Went to school with him for 6 years. 6 years. That nigga smelled the whole fucking time. The whole time. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Opposites attract, but I know that nigga is not attracting no good smelling motherfucker at all. at all. Tell me a good smelling motherfucker that would suck that dick, bro. Two rows down, 2 rows down, and I felt bad. I really did. That's why I was like, I'm not. I'm just saying, like objective truth. You could still talk about objective facts without like you're trying to make fun of. Because I would feel bad when people would make fun of him. And I never made fun of him. I remember actually one time I stood up for him and I said something to him, and then he ended up like giving me some dirty look. I guess he's been like bullied the whole time. You know what I mean? It's like I just remember being a kid too. Being like, well, fuck that motherfucker. Like, you know what I mean? I was trying to help. I was trying to be nice to you. You can't smell and be a dick, bro. You gotta choose. Go bathe if you want to be a fucking asshole. You can't smell like an asshole. God damn it, bro. He smelled. It was bad. People grow up, I guess. You know what I mean? Maybe being an 18-year-old senior and still not learning that lesson. Maybe he was just a late bloomer. Maybe he learned. Maybe. But I'm telling you, 6 years, 6 fucking years. But what if there was a reason why we draw the lines in certain places? There are certain reasons why we put our foot down on certain things. Like, again, I couldn't see a comedian getting with somebody that couldn't take a joke. We draw these lines for a reason. Opposites, they obviously attract in certain ways. But I don't think it is one of those things that is set in stone. If anything, you can find more examples of it being the opposite of that. And you can choose to draw lines in the wrong places. Like I said earlier, I I uh I probably lean towards that more than having too many boxes. You gotta have too many lines or whatever the fucking metaphor would continue to be. It's like you chill, you cool, you nice, you pretty, you like music, you like this type of music, cool. In fact, no, no, because those people I was attracted to growing up that didn't even like the same type of music, same type of shit. It was like different types of fucking, you know what I mean? Like personalities, different types of interests. And I started thinking if opposites do attract and we all are attracted to something that's the opposite in us, what are the things that I'm attracted to that's the opposite of me? And I don't know, it's one of those things where, you look at, again, your personal experience. There's no one size fits all for them. It's not one of those things where it's cookie cutter. Yep. Well, what was the example I gave earlier? If you're impatient, so you look for somebody that's patient. I don't know. You got the what's another? Let's think about some cliches. You got the very talkative spouse, and it's usually like the woman that you would see in TV shows and shit like that. And then you got the quiet man that's kind of dumb in the background and doesn't say much. It's just reading the newspaper and shit like that. You got these caricatures of relationships to go off of that are the complete opposites of one another. But I would argue that none of them, even though they're fictional characters, obviously, none of them sought out that person because, You're so patient and I'm impatient. It's to even recognize that you are impatient, you have to have a certain level of self-awareness and a certain level of culpability that you take before you even say that you are looking for that in the other partner. And the argument is, okay, didn't you say evolution? Didn't you say this was put into our biology? Didn't you say that this actually makes sense for on some survival shit that you find somebody that is the opposite, whether it's because hunter gatherer, whether you want to make the best offspring. It's like you see this in the animals, you know what I mean? That's why you got animals that they show their colors or they do these certain dances and they try to show the opposite sex that they are the right choice. You have all of these examples of us doing that. Maybe it's just evolution. Maybe you will never consciously have to say, I'm impatient, so I'm going to look for somebody with patience. I am very quiet and I stick to myself, so I'm going to choose somebody that's outgoing and makes friends very easily. Maybe you're not thinking it. It's just evolution. It's just like, the blink that you just did and the beat that your heart just made and all of these different things that happen with your body that you have no fucking control over. That breath you just took, yeah, that's what that's what I'm talking about. It's evolution, my guy. It's evolution. What do you mean? Maybe it is. Maybe it is all subconscious. Maybe opposites attract on such a primal level that we don't even recognize it. Maybe that's why I found it so hard, because I really wanted to have an answer before recording this video of what is the opposite thing in me that I'm attracted to in somebody else. And I can think of so many things that be like, yep, that's where I'm weak. Yep, that's where like I could work on this. And I could think of the actual opposite. But then when I'm thinking of past experiences, looking at what how things actually stack, it's like, okay, but they weren't the opposite of that. That weakness you had, they weren't the opposite of that. That hole that you found, they weren't the opposite of that either. So if and this, it's not like obviously like hundreds of fucking girlfriends or nothing, but it's like at least different case studies, right? If I'm including grade school shit, like these are, it's still attraction. If anything, it's the most innocent attraction. When I'm like looking at grade school girlfriends, that's the best way, right? Because then that's just pure. I'm not thinking about grown up stuff like kids and shit like that, marriage, and if I am, it's like little kids talk, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we're gonna get married one day. Like, are you? I don't know. I'm trying to think because this it goes back to, I think my first little fucking kiss was summer after kindergarten. My first little girlfriend or whatever. And what does that mean, right? There's still some sort of attraction there, right? Or maybe that was just, oh, that's what we see grown-ups doing, and that's what we do. Or, how much of this is just instilled in what we see around us. Whether it's, if you have a happy home life, you see that between mom and dad kissing each other, or you see whatever it is. You see TV, you see people out on the streets, public display of affection. You see what that's what we're supposed to do. At a certain point, a kid just loses their innocence. Maybe that's it's not attraction, but I don't know. I think, like I said, it's a good metric to go off of. I'm thinking my entire life, anyways. I can truthfully say that there's no opposite that I can really point at. That's like, yeah, see, like, don't you see the similarities type of thing? And maybe it's me being human, but the only similarities I really see is like the negative similarities, you know? And then I just look at myself for that. It's just like, what makes you choose people with these same negative similarities? I've definitely thought about that, where it's like a lot of the girls I've been with were very similar. And I know this sounds, and maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't give a fuck, bro. Call me whatever. I know. I'm just asking fucking questions. God damn it. Crossing my arms, getting all defensive and shit. But I think I think it's something with me is what like my first thought was. It's like damn, like I'm subconsciously choosing these type of people. I subconsciously chose rather these type of people. And, just looking back, hindsight's always 2020, right? When you're out of the fire, you can kind of look at how big the fucking burn is. And a part of me wonders if that's kind of what we've been talking about. Evolution, biology, something being subconscious, whatever words you want to use to describe it. The fact that it feels like I am attracted to a certain type of person, or I was historically attracted to a certain type of person. Not necessarily bad, but where I see similarities looking back, patterns looking back. And maybe it's like when you look up in the clouds and you see little pictures. You look into the stars and you see constellations. Maybe that's what it is. You just burnt your pancake and holy shit, is that Jesus? You're just seeing the patterns because that's what our brains do. They create patterns. And that just happened to be the pattern that I found. If opposites attract, it has to be it has to be something like I said, deep down, subconscious, primal, in our biology, whatever. Because I think I think we're more drawn to things that are like us. I think we're more drawn to people that have similar interests, similar beliefs, similar ideas, similar vibes. I think that's where the whole good vibes comes from. Like you feel somebody out when you're first talking to somebody. You checking their vibes. You don't really know them. Do you ever really know anybody? Does anybody ever really know you? Like I said, you are the only one that will have your perception. You are the only one that will see the world exactly the way you see it. And you can let that be some sort of lonely realization and let it paralyze you where you stand. And just like that, you feel like there's no hope in ever finding a soulmate, your other half. Okay, you can let that be the way you look at it. Or it can just be something you embrace, something that it sounds it sounds cliche, but something you could be grateful for because it gets to be your experience. It gets to be something that you have. You don't, not only do you not have to share that experience with anybody, you can't possibly share it. And all you'll do is get more and more frustrated the more and more you try to explain it exactly the way that you remember it. Think about how Think about the feeling of you experiencing a dream compared to you trying to explain said dream to somebody when you wake up. And then this happened, and then this was over here, and for some reason, it's not like how it usually was. It's like the old house, but it's with the new house set up. I don't know. Like you're sitting here trying to explain all this shit, and there's good luck. I think we're more drawn to people that have similarities with us, but we will ultimately always find the opposites.